Okay, before I bring Peter and Ben back in, I want to, if Memphis can please play that footage for a second. Here's why. The most MAGA, the most populist nationalist member of the British cabinet, and someone you're going to hear a lot from. She's a woman, incredible intelligence and courage. Suella Braverman was fired today, basically sacked. They brought in, did a reshuffle. They brought in one of the worst guys in the world, an agent of the CCP, David Cameron, on the payroll, as bad as Tony Blair is on the payroll, the Qataris, right? Another globalist who will work nonstop to try to reverse Brexit, take the sovereignty away of the British people, merge it back to the European Union. Now, why is this important for an audience in the United States? What's happening in England today, particularly in central London, with these protests, 300,000 folks. I put on a lot of protests in my life. When you draw 300,000 people, this thing was massive. I mean, it's like what's going on in Spain, which is up from the ground right now. These are massive protests. The Spanish protests is not socialism. What they're protesting in Spain is also this migrant issue being out of control. Here, the pro-Palestinian is the migrant issue writ large. And you're seeing it up in your grill. This is coming to a city near you in the United States fairly quickly as this war in Israel starts to metastasize. Let's go ahead and play the footage. I'm going to come back and bring in Ben and Peter. Okay. If Memphis, we can go ahead and split screen. Let me tell you, but let's get it back up on a split screen as we talk here. I want people to see this. Far be it from me, Peter, to say because those people are Christian and they're nationalist and, maybe they look like they're white, that the woke police would be all over them. But this was brutal. I think 100, if I'm correct, 190 protesters arrested, but many more clubbed and beaten. And I just want the audience to know, when you see these pro-Palestinian, they are chanting all the chants of the jihadists. Israel has made a major mistake here, and I've talked to people in Israel about this for years. They've tried to set this Hamas thing up as some sort of secular disagreement about politics. There is no Hamas is just a local franchise. They're it's like owning McDonald's. They're the Gaza franchisees of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is what is infested in the United Kingdom. The armies to the north of Israel are the Lebanese Party of God, which is the Shiite version from the Persians of the Shiite version of Islam. But this is about Sharia supremacists. Now, not every Muslim is a Sharia supremacist, but the ones in the street here, they certainly are, and you can tell by the chants of what they're saying. And when you start repeating from the river to the sea, that means you want to eradicate. You don't want to eradicate just simply the Israeli people and the Jewish people. You basically want to take over the Holy Land, drive the Jews out and drive the Christians out. And it's time we start having frank conversations because they know what they're doing. They're having frank conversations. Suella Braverman, the one woman in the cabinet, the one person in the cabinet prepared to step up and say, we can't do this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to let people chant this stuff. And we're not going to let them sit there and deface our monuments. We're not going to take our British heritage and bend the knee to them. Sack. Peter Mcilvenna, your thoughts and observations.
So 100% on this is a religious clash, and we've got Bridget Gabriel with us on Thursday discussing exactly that, and that's why no one wants to address the real problem there in the Middle East. Now you bring that over to here, and we have never had those clashes between Muslims, between hardcore Muslims and the British people. We haven't had those clashes really in London. We've seen them in Brussels and Paris. We haven't seen them. So my huge fear is that this is really going to boil over, and this is not going to away because this is religious. This isn't you give a bit of land, someone's happy. Israel are going to finish off the war there. They're going to destroy Hamas, and all hell is going to break loose around there. That's that side. Now, but really another interesting point on this. Reading all the media up until the weekend, I saw it as a full-on psyop. We were told there were going to clashes. The police told us there would be clashes. The government told us there would be clashes. The media told us there would be clashes. In fact, so you've got, here was the paper, the Daily Mail. That's the Daily Mail from Saturday, a whole 2-page spread of Tommy Robinson. This is not only a class war, and that is the whole issue with Suella Braverman supporting those who stand up for British values, whatever they are anymore. So you've got the class war happening, but you've also got, we were told this was going to happen. Do you know the demonstration was never due to go near the cenotaph, near the War Memorial? It actually, there wasn't going to be a clash, and it seemed as though our media and politicians, the police, engineered a clash. And of course, the police were not there to remove the Hamas demonstrators. They were there to remove those who went to protect the monuments, to protect our memorials. And some of the footage you see of the police suddenly rushing in with men just walking along, the police rushing in with their batons raised. They wanted this to be a clash. They wanted a fight, and they got it. And my fear is the government have engineered what happened over the weekend simply so they can crack down on those of us who actually want freedom, and they will let the Hamas demonstrations continue while clamping down on those on the right.
Oh, no
That's
doubt.
my fear.
They're terrified because the Hamas, the pro-Palestinian, the Sharia supremacists, jihadists think that tide of history is on their side. They think they've got momentum. They're not going to back down. And the British authorities, you saw today by sacking Braverman, there's not one person in there. And this is what I'm saying, their discussion about the Tory party and what's going to happen in the elections, all this stuff, amazingly, about the coverage of British politics is almost like covering high school politics. It's so focused on like I guess it's the reminiscent of the court around the Kings were so powerful. All they do is talk about this inside baseball and who's in and who's out and what's happening on 10 Downing, all this gossip. In the streets, history's being made. In the streets, right there, British values are being mocked on the most solemn day of civic pride, right, of the civic religion in Great Britain. Remembrance Day, right? The 11th hour of the 11th month of the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. They couldn't even, right there, 300,000. And in the Sharia supremacist protesters know exactly what they're doing. The British authorities blink. That is coming to the United States of America. Mark my word. Peter, I'll get you back on tomorrow about Romania. Where do people go for Hearts of Oak? We put you up every show on War Room. Where do people go to get your content?
So, yeah, we stream on War Room on Rumble and Getter. Tonight we had Pierre Corey, Dr. Pierre Corey, who's one of the keynote speakers in Romania, one of the first people to talk about ivermectin as a solution to COVID. You can find us at Hearts of Oak on Getter, on Truth, at Hearts of Oak UK on Twitter. It'll always be Twitter to me, and everywhere else, Rumble. But yeah, we stream on War Room every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Ben Harnwell in Rome. Ben, you've warned about this for many, many years. You warned that these days are coming. Give me your assessment and analysis now as this war in the Middle East begins to metastasize. This is a holy war. I didn't say that. Erdogan said that. Erdogan stood there in front of 1 million Turks 2 Saturdays ago and said this is the cross versus the crescent, right? We got to drive the Crusaders out. The Arab League meeting couldn't have been more in your face. You had the Turks, you had the Arabs, you had obviously the Egyptians, and they invited and showed up. The Persians showed up in a sign of unity. Hey, I'm not saying they don't hate each other. They hate each other. But you know what? They hate the West more. This is not about Israel. It's not about the Israelis. Anybody thinks it's just about that, you are dead wrong. And what you've seen in New York City, what you've seen in Columbus Circle, what you've seen against the monuments in our city is just the beginning, because you're seeing it on the streets of London right now. Ben Harnwell.
Steve, you said earlier when you were talking to Peter that there that these activists and Hamas, they believe that the tide of history is on their side. I'm not entirely convinced they're wrong. It would take a supernatural intervention, an act of supernatural intervention for us to be able to win this. And the reason for that is I think to be found in the words that Peter Mcilvenna started off his analysis with when he said that this was a religious war. Because of course it is a religious war, but only for half of for only half, because we in the West, we're bending over backwards to say that we don't see, that we're not fighting for the secular state of Israel because we're driven by religious motivations. Those words would never, an analog, a symmetrical analog of what the Muslims are asking for. You're never going to find that come out of the mouth of Rishi Sunak or Joe Biden, for that matter, or Ursula von der Leyen, or any Western leader. They will bend over backwards to say, we respect Muslims. Islam is a religion of peace. Why can't we all cohabit peacefully? That's not what, a lot of Muslims would be happy with that, but they're not the ones who are driving history. The ones who are driving history are those who believe the most and believe the most fervently and the hardest. And those are the people that you see out there in Parliament Square protesting. So the reason that this is a civilizational war, and it's the Judeo-Christian West here versus, as you termed it, Sharia fascism, but only one half of that is being driven by the most powerful impulse that mankind has, which is the religious impulse. We in the West, we've been so secularized since the 60s onwards. We've conceptually disarmed ourselves, so we're not even capable of understanding what the actual dynamic is that we're in at the moment. How on earth can we possibly hope to win a war, a religious war, when we refuse ideologically to recognize that is what this is? Which is why I said that this will take an act of supernatural intervention by Jesus Christ for us to win this, because it does look as if the Muslim sphere now, which isn't monolithic, but we've done what we can candidly in the West to make it as you were saying, to bring those disparate movements together into a form of cohesiveness for the first time in 1,000 years. We're fighting that, and it is becoming increasingly unified, and we're refusing to recognize the substance of the matter. So, this is the tide of history does appear to be on their side right now, because we in the what used to be, we call it the Judeo-Christian West. It used to be called Christendom, of course. But if you don't believe in Jesus Christ anymore, then what are you going to bring to the table in a civilizational battle? By the way, a civilizational battle, which is an existential fight.
Transgender rights. Ben, that's what, how do people get to you? Social media, brilliant analysis, as usual.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Steve. Warroom.org, Bannon's War Room on Rumble, and of course, my favorite profile on the Getter platform at Steve Bannon, because Stephen K. Bannon is very kind enough to share my occasional posts. Not the really racy
I share
ones.
your occasional posts.
Not the really racy ones.
But you have but you have better engagement than that, dude. Irks me no end. Ben, thank you. We're gonna get you back hopefully tomorrow or the next day, talk about the fake Pope blowing out the real bishop. So Bishop Strickland of Tyler, Texas. Thank you very much, Ben Harnwell. Make sure, by the way, one of the ways I realize late at night, particularly for some of you folks like me, after a certain hour, I kind of dialed down my intake of coffee. But Warpath, I've worked on this with Tej Gill and the team for over a year. We did a proof of concept about a year ago to get absolutely perfect, get all the acid out. Dark roast coffee as has never been. They get all kind of flavors, all kind of blends. But of course, my favorite, my baby, is the Mariners Blend Dark Roast. Warpath.coffee/worm. You get a big discount. Go check it out today. It will get you jacked up for the morning show, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Some of you on the West Coast, 7 o'clock, you need it. Even at 10 o'clock, you need it. Warpath.coffee/war room. It is the best coffee ever roasted. I can say that as an aficionado. Joe Rieck, brother, it's we live in the Chinese curse, live in interesting times. I keep telling people, whether it's gold or anything, we have people on the preparation that the turbulence is only going to get more intense. If you saw what happened in England over the weekend, it is absolutely insane. 300,000 person protest that really turned into a riot. The police beat up and arrested 195 British patriots, what they called hooligans. This thing's spinning out of control. I want everybody in this audience to be ahead of the curve. Joe Rieck, how can My Patriot Supply help our audience get ahead of the curve for the turbulent times ahead?
Well, Steve, like you said, we do a fantastic job of trying to educate families and people on what they need to do to become better prepared. As this world gets even more and more crazy, now is the time for customers and for people to take the preparedness into their own hands. And one of the things that we advocate here is you got to be self-reliant. Not only do we provide long-term emergency food, not only do we provide fantastic emergency gear, but I want to introduce to you guys another component of emergency preparedness. A couple of weeks, Steve, I was gracious enough to come onto your show and talk about our Grid Doctor 300, which is that smaller portable solar generator unit that we have. But today, I want to share something even bigger. This unit behind me is what we call the Grid Doctor 2200. So now, when we need a shelter in place, now we can run those big appliances in our home, namely our refrigerators, our small freezers, our microwaves. We can do that now with the Grid Doctor 2200. So this little kit right here features 2200 watts, over 2,048 watt hours combined. When you get this system, you get a 200 watt solar panel, and you have the ability to expand that out to 4 additional solar panels for a total of 800 watts. This unit features the latest technology like maximum power point tracking, pass-through charging, which, Steve, that allows you to be able to use this solar generator to power your appliances and charge it at the exact same time. So now you can have continuous power. The other thing that is very unique to this Grid Doctor 200 is now we can have what we call the world's only power tower. So now we compare this Grid Doctor 2200 with a 2200 expandable expansion battery. So now we can increase the amount of items that we can use to power. We can stack up to 7 different expansion packs to get over 16,000 watts, as well as over 1,600 watt hours of continuous power. So you can have the peace of mind to power your refrigerator, to keep your fresh food fresh, to get that deep freezer done, to use your microwave when needed. So that way you can still continue to live your life with some sort of normalcy. But Steve, like you teach everybody, you got to be prepared and you got to do the work yourself. And if you don't know how to do it, we here at My Patriot Supply, we are happy to sit you down and walk you through the different items that we have so you can have that peace of mind of knowing that regardless of whatever life throws at you, regardless of whatever outbreaks are happening in this world, you can take care of your loved ones, you can take care of your family, and you can have that peace of mind that you're going to get through another day. And now with this Grid Doctor 2200 unit, now you can have the confidence to power those larger appliances that need that power, especially when the grid goes out, when the power fails, you can have that backup power for you and your family, Steve.
Joe, where do people go right now? Because I know people are going to have a ton of questions. I want to know where they go on the site, because this is all new to them, to find out about the Grid Doctor 2200, and then who can they talk to? Because I know they're going to have a million questions. So just tell folks where they go right now.
Yeah, go to our website, mypatriotsupply.com. Again, that is mypatriotsupply.com. If you need to speak with a preparedness advisor to ask them your questions, and again, Steve, every family is going to be different. There's not a one-size-fits-all package available. So if you have those questions, you want to get more information on the Grid Doctor 2200, or even get more information on what you can do to be better prepared, you can give us a call. We have preparedness specialists ready to answer your phone calls, to ask those questions and to give you the answers that you're looking for. You can call us at 866-229-0000. 866-229-0927. Again, Steve, that number is 866-229-0927, or go to our website, mypatriotsupply.com.
Joe, Rieck, honored to have you on here. We're going to make sure everybody goes, checks this out, and calls your specialists, your advisors, your consultants to make sure they understand everything. Thank you very much for coming on here, brother. The Grid Doctor 2200. This is the big kahuna that can power everything. Go check it out. Joe, thank you so much. We're going to be back at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. There's a firefight going on, as you saw in the first hour, on the budgeting, on the fight, on the CR. We're going to be in the middle of it. Make sure you go to birchgold.com/Bannon. Get up to speed on the Xi-Biden meeting in the Bay Area by understanding why the Chinese Communist Party buying gold at record rates, the central banks, in 22 and 23. Answer that question. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. in the War Room.